What is going on, everyone? Face Gamisa, Danielle Michaud with you. It is a off day between the Warriors and Raptors. Toronto up 2.
What is the latest on Klay and Kevin Durant?
So Klay will plan on playing tomorrow, so we expect him to play, barring something unforeseen. He's continued to improve, and so that's good news. Kevin will not play tomorrow. He will continue to get treatment and get on the court and continue to work, but will be unavailable for Game 4.
What didn't you see from Kevin that you needed to see for him not to play?
It's not really about that. It's just about when the training staff tells me he's ready, and he's been doing individual work on the court. He's been in the training room and the weight room. He's been doing lots of different things. Training staff said he's not ready to play in a game yet, so that's all.
Again, here in the aisle.
Anthony Sutter with The Athletic. You talked yesterday about potentially getting him in a scrimmage today. Are you going to be able to do that?
Yeah, it's not going to happen today. I think that's something that will happen in the coming days, but not today.
Steve, Tim Reynolds with the AP. They've obviously done a very good job in finding Danny Green, and he's done a good job finding spots. Is it as simple as that, or are there things that you're missing with him when he gets on some of these roles that he's been known to get on?
Our defense was poor last night, and in particular, several times leaving Danny when we didn't need to. And he's a shooter who commands attention and respect. And there were at least 3 of his shots where we just drifted away from him, and we've got to stay connected to him.
Steve, Jeff Ferrato, Area News Group. Last night, again, Draymond sort of shouldered some of the blame for what happened. He does this a lot. Just talk about what effect that has on his teammates when he's willing to take the heat after a game where the team maybe didn't play real well.
Well, there's no need for him to take the heat on a loss. We lost the game as a team, and Draymond played hard. All our guys played hard. I thought they competed their butts off. But we didn't play well enough to win. But I think all of our guys are always holding themselves accountable, and that's an admirable trait, and it's a necessary one because it's the only way you can take a look at what you need to get better with and improve upon.
It seems like he does it maybe more than some guys. Do you think it helps fuel himself? Does it help him play better the next time out?
Yeah, I do. I think it's part of who he is. He likes to motivate himself, and so if he doesn't play well, he beats himself up a little bit, and he sort of opens up about it to the media, and then he comes out and he plays better the next game.
John, 4th row on the right.
Coach, John Schumann, NBA.com. Statistically, that was your worst defensive game since, I think, the Clippers series. Does that match what your eyes saw? And then part 2, do you feel like it was more personnel-based and missing Klay, missing Looney? Or do you feel it was just the guys that were there just making too many mistakes?
It's a combination of all that. I mean, when you change the lineups and you're without some key guys, now you're ending up with 5 guys on the floor who generally haven't played together a whole lot. And so I think that while the effort was there, the execution was not. And we watched tape this morning. We saw all kinds of stuff that we did poorly that we have to clean up. And so it's just, it's something we have to adapt to. And I think we'll be much better tomorrow, and we'll be more comfortable with, with the personnel groupings and strategically what we need to do.
Mark here in the front.
Steve, Mark Medina, Bay Area News Group. To clarify on Klay, are there any minute restrictions heading into Game 4?
No.
With Kevon Looney, I know you were saying that he was going to be out for the finals, but there's a report that came out today that maybe there's an outside chance. Has anything changed in that regard?
We're gathering information, second opinion type thing, and so it's sort of open. It's an open question, and as we gather information, we'll know more. But at this point, there's not really anything to report. But we are looking at all of our options and his options.
Phil on the left.
Hey, Steve. Phil Barber, Santa Rosa Press Democrat, right along the wall to your left. I don't know if you saw the video of what happened with Kyle Lowry and the fan courtside during the game, but I'm wondering, does it disturb you? We've talked a lot about these incidents around the league, but does it disturb you that it happened at Oracle, and does it make it worse that the person involved apparently is a member of the organization?
I have not seen the play. I didn't see it last night. I saw the commotion afterwards, but I haven't seen a replay, and I didn't really even know the story until this morning. I know our organization has put out a release, and I will let the release speak for itself. It's really not, my jurisdiction, but I will also personally apologize to Kyle and to the Raptors. That's unacceptable.
Scott, here in the front.
Scott Osler of the Chronicle. Steve, with Steph, is it possible for him to play 48 minutes? Are you ever tempted to even stretch it out even more than you did last night?
Not really. Last night is about the extent of what I think Steph is capable of. He was brilliant. He was amazing. But I think he was, I took him out with about 2 minutes left, and he got about 2.5 minutes rest in the second quarter. We're asking an awful lot of him, and we should be able to buy a few minutes rest here and there for him.
Joe on the right.
Steve, Joe Varden, The Athletic. I've got a small picture and big picture question with Durant. Did he have a setback from yesterday to today? And then bigger picture, I mean, there's up to 4 games and a week and a half left in the series. Right. Is there a question that he may not play at all?
Well, no, there was no setback. So, I was hoping that today would be the day when he could get out on the floor. It's not going to be today. It's going to be probably tomorrow, the following day, the next couple of days. So the hope would be that he can still make it back, at the end of the series. But he did not have a setback. It's, I'm getting asked a million questions every day, and so sometimes I might answer something that doesn't jibe perfectly with, what the training staff saw that morning. So I probably misspoke last night. I thought today was his day to get out on the floor, but he still has another hurdle to clear before he can do that. So that's the next step.
Michael, back left.
Steve, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. Through this run, you guys have had your share of tough situations down against Houston, OKC, and there's probably one or two I'm forgetting. But does this feel like the pressure's mounting a little bit down 2-1, and the lineup seeming to change every minute?
It just feels like business as usual, honestly. I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but the benefit of having been through 5 years of this is we have literally seen everything. We've lost a 3-1 lead in heartbreaking fashion. We've come back from 3-1 down. We've had to win a Game 7 on the road. We've been without Steph Curry for series. We've been without Kevin Durant. We were without Klay last night. Our opponents have been without key players. So you can name it, and we've seen it. And so I think the key is, and our guys know this because they've been through it before, you just zero in on the next game. You make your adjustments, and you win the next game, and all of a sudden everything shifts, and the whole narrative changes. And so it's you just can't get caught up in all the hoopla. It's just focus on winning the game and doing what you have to do so.
Steve, last question in the back.
Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, back here. In each of the last 3 rounds, there have been what I guess I'd call Kawhi signature games, kind of like a Steph game of last night. He hasn't had one of those yet in this series. How much of a concern is it that you're trailing and he hasn't had, what you're going to expect him to do somewhere along the way?
It's not a thought that goes through my head. That's for your stories. A lot of different angles to take. We're trying to do the best we can on Kawhi on their team. We have to make a lot of improvements defensively. It was a very poor effort. The guy did have 30 points. I think he had like 23 in the second half. So if that's not a signature game, then I guess he's just still pretty good. But no, that's all part of it. Guys have good games. They have great games. They have poor games. You just try to win whatever you have to do, and then there's all kinds of coverage beyond that is beyond our control, and we just move forward.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
All right, that's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. First up for media availability is today. Next up is Steph Curry is expected. This was scheduled for 3:40 p.m. Eastern time. It is already past that. We will, of course, take you there as soon as we start. Let's start. There's a couple things to get to here, Danielle.
Yeah.
By the way, you're watching Media Day coverage. Raptors are going to speak starting around 4:15 Eastern with head coach Nick Nurse, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard also speaking. Let's start with the news. KD out again for Game 4. Steve Kerr yesterday said he expected KD to be on the court today. He clarified saying he misspoke. Tomorrow, Saturday, the next couple days. He maintains, though, Kevin Durant will practice before he plays, which makes it seem more and more unlikely that we'll see KD in these finals.
Said there's still a hurdle to get over before he can hit the court, and I will maintain my position as I always have. I think it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. I don't think Durant will play in this finals whatsoever.
KD.
But it's... Yeah,
Oh, Durant. That's how you said Draymond. Sorry.
It's all good. And my position on that is that when they said 6 weeks, thinking there would be a mass improvement, we hit the 6-week mark. There was almost none at that time. No great update. And at this point, it's just easier for them to keep saying he'll play to kind of dangle that carrot of he's coming back, you should be fearful, but I just don't think he's going to be ready.
We have video of KD last night dapping up his teammates. If you are watching, keep an eye out on the ice pack on KD's leg. Look at how low that is too, right? Like people were saying, oh, calf. Like that's very low.
It's on his ankle.
That's on his ankle, right? Like it feels like there might be a little more to what's going on. We haven't heard any definitive update on KD since he injured himself against the Rockets, right? And again, the Warriors are really not inclined to give us one, right? Which is fair. But we do know that he is out, at least for Game 4. In terms of Klay Thompson now, the other injury, the other subplot to this, didn't play in Game 3. The Raptors taking advantage of that, winning that game, of course. Expected to play in Game 4, not expected to have any minute restrictions either, says head coach Steve Kerr. Again, he adds an element to the Warriors, obviously, of course, and defensively the Raptors have to adjust for that because they let Curry go off yesterday because they knew no one else could really beat them.
That's the thing. The secondary scoring is the second guy up to the job is gone. Sean Livingston can't provide the same kind of ammunition that Klay can. And you know that he wanted to be. I don't know if you noticed, I feel like in timeouts you could see Klay drifting out, wandering onto the court.
Oh, badly wanted to play, right?
Yeah, just desperately wanted to be in. So if there was this position, which they now find themselves in, down in the series 2-1, it's been almost 3 years since the Warriors have lost at Oracle in the finals. It's saying a lot. Klay's going to force it. I don't know how he can convince the medical staff to maybe just ease up on those results, or maybe he'll have the immense improvement over the next day. He doesn't have 2 days to improve. He has 1 and a bit. So lots of work to do.
All right, it is practice day, of course, right? And the Warriors, a lot of their big guys not practicing today. Of course, KD, Klay not. Curry didn't practice today. Draymond didn't practice today. Bogut didn't practice today. Livingston didn't practice today. Cousins was out there taking shots. He was scheduled for 20-minute media availability. Apparently, it only went 2 minutes, and then we're trying to get that. So when we do have DeMarcus Cousins speaking, we will show you that as well throughout the day. Steph Curry is expected to speak next, by the way. In the next couple of minutes, we will take you to him. 47 points last night. He seemingly putting the team on his back, but wasn't good enough to get the job done. There was an incident we need to talk about from last night as well. Kyle Lowry getting shoved when he was into the stands by Mark Stevens, who is an investor, a part owner of the Warriors. So he was kicked out of the game. The Warriors taking action this morning in a statement of their own, and I want to make sure I get the wording completely right. They said they were disappointed in his actions. and offer an apology. He will not be in attendance at any of the remaining games of the 2019 NBA Finals. That was the statement from the Golden State Warriors today. They ended it by saying review of this matter is ongoing. You can see that as well. Well, shortly after that, Danielle, the league putting out a statement of its own, suggesting that there is more review to come. Mr. Stevens will not be permitted to attend NBA games while this review is going on. They said his action, beyond unacceptable, has no place in our league. That wasn't the only chiming in. LeBron chiming in as well.
And I think that one's going to have a major impact, right? Because everyone hears LeBron's voice when it comes to the league. He posted this on Instagram. It says, there's absolutely no place in our beautiful game for that at all. There's so many issues here. When you sit courtside, you absolutely know what comes with being on the floor. And if you don't know, it's on the back of the ticket itself that states the guidelines. And that makes me think of being at Scotiabank Arena. They put that little card on all of those first 3 rows. Everyone's aware. But he himself, being a fan, but more importantly, part owner of the Warriors, knew exactly what he was doing, which was so uncalled for. So he goes on, as you see in this post, to think, what if something had happened to Kyle Lowry in this situation? People would be going nuts. So he said, I've been quiet throughout the whole NBA playoffs, watching every game. I haven't missed one. But after I saw what I saw last night, I took time to let it manifest into my thinking. I couldn't and wouldn't be quiet on this. Hashtag protect the players.
So we know Mark Stevens, a guy that a lot of you are learning about for the first time today, yesterday, will not be at any NBA games. We'll see what the league does in terms of discipline. Kyle Lowry handled that as maturely as you can. I expect him to speak about that today. He'll speak a little later on, around 4:25, 4:30. So, as mentioned, DeMarcus Cousins spoke moments ago. Again, all these players are allocated 20 minutes for media availability on the court. His lasted 2 minutes. Here is what Boogie had to say.
Why are you cautious about Raptors' playstyle?
What?
What are you cautious about Raptors' playstyle?
What am I cautious about? A talented team. Plenty of talent on the floor. They got a threat from every position, so that's more than enough to be worried about.
How are you planning to win the game 4?
Play better.
Where are you right now condition-wise?
I don't know.
Have you viewed the film from last night and the stats show 1 for 7? Would you say is what your spots or a little bit more aggressiveness?
Shots didn't fall.
So the point of all that was that he didn't really say much.
No.
I imagine this guy will. Steph Curry live at the podium. Let's hear what he says after dropping 47 in a loss last night.
One of the minority owners from the Warriors shoved him. I don't know if you're familiar with the video, but just wondering about your reaction to what happened, how the Warriors how their Warriors image might be affected by the incident and this one minority owner.
Obviously an unfortunate situation all the way around. Credit Kyle the way he handled it. A lot of different reactions you could have had, but he handled it correctly. I know our team and organization is addressing the situation, and we'll act accordingly. You don't want to see that in our game, and hopefully it doesn't happen. I don't necessarily think it was a reflection of how we handle business here. As a Warriors organization and franchise, we have a high standard and do things with class and professionalism. And I know Mark is apologetic and whatnot, but we'll handle that situation. Like I said, the organization is going to do that, and just want respect for the game all the way around, fans, owners, team, players, coaches, everybody, because there's so much good happening on the court that we want to keep the spotlight on that.
Tim, towards the back.
Steph, Tim Reynolds with the AP here in the middle. The Danny Green, when he gets on rolls, they tend to last for a while, and unfortunately, I guess for you guys, he's in a good place right now, a good rhythm right now. What do you guys have to do better against him?
Obviously, he made shots, and he's been in this stage before. Back in San Antonio, and knows sense of urgency of the moment and those big spots. Last night, he had a lot of just momentum threes, whether it's end of quarters or us making a run, getting it to 7, 6, and him making a shot. So, watching the film, there are a couple broken plays that he got a 3 off of, but early in the first quarter, I gave up a 3 to him, or let him get open for a 3 in the corner without really making him, feel my presence at all. And shots like that for a great shooter just build confidence, and he fed off of that the rest of the game. So if I'm nitpicking, I'm saying early in the first quarter, try to run him off the line, make him think a little bit, and maybe that hopefully will carry over the rest of the game. But the exact opposite happened. So our defense as a whole has to be better.
Joe, second row.
Hey, Steph. Joe Varden from The Athletic right here. Do you know Mark Stevens?
Not personally, no.
And our phones, yours too, are just blowing up with very strong reactions to this. What did you make of it? I mean, how do you feel about this? I mean, that a minority owner...
I just answered it.
Well, no, I mean, but you said it's an unfortunate situation, but, I mean, you personally, like, how did you take that in this morning when you were looking at the film and finding out exactly who it was?
I didn't see it in real time, so I didn't know exactly what happened. I saw Kyle's reaction, but obviously when you see the video, it's pretty, clear who was in the wrong. And again, I know the team is handling it, the way that they should, in terms of not letting him back in the stadium for the finals, and then whatever happens after that. So again, I just credit Kyle the way he handled it, because it could have been a lot worse in terms of an altercation that should not have happened in the beginning. So it's kind of who Kyle is in terms of protecting himself, but doing it in a graceful way for sure.
Second row on the right.
Hi, Steph. This is Shigang from Titan Sports China. So yesterday, the audiences were doing everything helping you guys on the floor, and tomorrow might be possibly the second last game of Warriors in this area. Does that give you extra encouragement?
Being down 2-1 gives us all the motivation we need, honestly. There's a bigger story around this building, and it being the last year and what's at stake with that, but it all kind of boils down to us, trying to win a championship no matter, where we're playing at. And being down 2-1, we have to come in, feed off our crowd's energy, make the necessary adjustments, especially on the defensive end that we didn't do in Game 3, and allow our crowd to be in it the entire game. That's a great opportunity for us. We've got a lot of I'd say the cards are stacked against us in terms of injuries and things like that. But that's a sob story nobody really wants to hear. It's about how can you get the job done, and we got to go do it.
Nick on the left over here.
Steph, Nick Friedel, ESPN. Steve just told us that Kevin wasn't going to play tomorrow. Are you guys at a point where you have to prepare as if he's not coming back in this series?
I'm not sure. Just knowing he's trying to get back as soon as possible, and there's certain checkpoints he has to go through. The way that we've handled it to date is, what's the focus today? Is, who's able to play, who's not, and how are we going to go out there and give our best effort. So knowing he's not playing Game 4, we know what our rotations are going to be. Everybody lock in and go win that game. And then when we get on the plane to go to Toronto, ask the same question. And, we hope at some point he will be back. And when he does, like we said, we'll be able to transition, our perspective, with him available. But until then, it's just on a daily, the moment is who's out there, who's ready to play, and can we go win?
What do you think you miss most? You miss lots of things without him. What do you think you miss most in this time you haven't had him?
Everything. He's an all-world athlete who makes your team better. So it's a tough blow, but we still have a great opportunity in front of us, and we're gonna lay it all out there on the line to try to get it done.
Eric on the right.
Steph, Eric Corrine from The Athletic. Thinking back to last night and then watching the video today, how much do you think the Raptors' defensive focus on you really changed from games 1 and 2, with Klay being out, of course?
There's nothing janky about yesterday. Let's put it that way. It was. I mean, they showed bodies. They threw different guys at me. I was just a little bit more aggressive, trying to look for shots. But I assume there's going to be subtle adjustments. Trying to get the ball out of my hands earlier in the possession. But there are things that I can do to counteract that and still, make an impact on that end of the floor. Looking at the film, I'd say we created pretty good offense all the way around. We just missed, some shots, and like I said, that happens in the NBA. It's a make or miss league, like everybody says. But I think the composure that we play with and try to keep things simple. At times we were a little rushed, but for the most part, I like the way that we played offensively. And I don't think that's going to be an issue for us to win. It's all about our defense.
Did it feel at all like they were selling out a little more to, get the ball off your hands, or was that not really a feeling as you went through that game?
I mean, I got up 31 shots, so it was a lot just being aggressive. Again, no matter what defense is throwing at you, there are things that I can do to still, again, make plays. And at the end of the day, you shoot shots you can make and live with the results. So no matter what adjustments they make, I still feel confident.
Last two questions over here, and Janie.
Steph, Jeff Ferrato, Barrier News Group. Draymond often, after a tough game where he doesn't think he played well, he doesn't think the team played well, will take a lot of responsibility for it, and he did it again last night. When he does that, do you guys just say, well, that's Draymond being Draymond, or do you guys get motivation from that, and do you think it helps him for the next game to motivate himself?
That's definitely an MO of his, but I think honestly any great player who is a great leader and doesn't mind putting themselves out there, we all gonna say what we could have done better. Even myself last night, I'm nitpicking things that or possessions that I wanted back, or looking for the adjustments that I can personally make going into game 4. No, I play well, but I can play better, and everybody has that mentality. So he's very consistent in terms of looking in the mirror and saying what yeah, when I play well, I know people are going to talk great about me. When I don't, doesn't waver his confidence, but he's going to go out next game and self-correct. So. As a great leader, that's definitely important to have that perspective as opposed to just blaming other people or pointing the finger elsewhere.
And when he does that, is that a barometer of how he might respond the next game?
I mean, honestly, I know even if he didn't say nothing, I know just having been around him for the last 7-8 years that he probably lost some sleep based on our whole team's performance. So, and just the fact that we lost, it's not a good feeling for anybody, especially a competitor like that. So whether he vocalizes it or not, I know what his mindset is, and would bet on him for game 4.
Janie, last question.
Steph, Janie McCauley from AP. With Klay coming back, Steve said he will be back probably tomorrow night. Defensively, how much is that a big factor for you guys? And also, Steve said he would not have forgiven himself if Klay had, had further damage to that hamstring by playing last night.
I mean, yeah, it's a tricky situation because it is the finals, and I know Klay was, dying and begging to play. And I've been in that situation as well where you feel like you can give the team something, even if it's not 100%, and you're not really thinking about the ramifications of a even more serious injury in that moment because we just want to play. But that's what a coach's job is. That's what a medical staff, his job is to make those tough decisions and tough calls and live with them based on all the information present. And they made that decision to sit him. Hopefully he's that much better coming into game 4. Won't have to worry about, compensating for his hamstring or anything. To your question about his defense, I mean, that's people fall in love with his shooting and how hot he can get on the offensive end, but the way that our team plays defensively and then the chemistry that we have and the experience, he's right at the forefront of that. And it's a tough adjustment when, like I said, guys who haven't been in that position consistently and in these type of moments are thrown into into his minutes. So you love to have him out there on that end of the floor as well, especially with a team like Toronto who's versatile and can space the floor, but he can guard a lot of different guys and kind of straight up too. So we'd like to have that back, and I know he's going to be ready to play and have a lot of energy out there.
Thank you, Steph. Draymond will be right up.
All right, welcome back. Faisal Danielle here with you. That was Steph Curry. You heard the voice at the end there saying Draymond should be right up. We will see. There he is right now, and we will save our dissection for later. We should let you know Klay Thompson spoke on the court as well. We'll have that after Draymond Green speaks to the media. Let's take you right back to Oracle for Draymond.
Hi, Draymond.
Hello,
Kareth Burke,
Kara.
NBC Sports Bay Area. You guys have been peppered with questions about injuries for a long time now, but Steve Kerr showed some of the heart behind some of these decisions as well. Last night he said when he never would have forgiven himself if Klay had played in Game 3 and re-injured himself. So what is the human element here? What is the heart that goes into some of these tough decisions alongside the evaluations from the training staff?
I think the human elements are important. At the end of the day, you want to, as much as you want to win, this is how people feed their families. As I've said before, when you have injuries, you live those injuries every day. And so obviously Steve, as a former player, he understands that. And if Klay was to go out there and play last night and injure his hamstring, he'll be dealing with that for a long time. Even when you hurt like hamstrings and stuff, you may be back healthy in 4 or 6 weeks or whatever, but you're still dealing with that. And so, just understanding that and, taking in consideration a guy's well-being, even more so than necessarily the team's well-being, I think that's important and appreciated as players.
Draymond, Ann Killian with the San Francisco Chronicle. You've probably seen the interaction between Kyle Lowry and a fan. The fan turns out to be a minority owner of the team. And I'm just wondering what your take is on that. And I know that you've gotten your fair share of harassment in visiting arenas. I'm just wondering, do you feel that players are kind of vulnerable, a little bit under attack? And what do you think should be maybe done about it?
I think players are definitely vulnerable. Anytime you're in a situation where you can do no right, in defending yourself, you're vulnerable. So, if a fan says whatever they want to you and then you say something back, you're fine. If Kyle was to then hit back, a lot more than fine would have then happened to Kyle. In a situation where you're essentially helpless, you're always going to be vulnerable in anything in life. It's not just on the basketball court. In any situation, and you can't help yourself, you're vulnerable. And so I think, as players, we definitely are. But I think, you have to give Kyle a lot of credit in the way he handled it. That's, you're playing in the NBA Finals, so your emotions are running high. For him to handle it the way he did says a lot about his character, a lot about him as a man and the way he handles himself. That was great to see the way he handled that. And, as far as, it all goes, the league has really grown and really having a no-nonsense approach when it comes to fan interactions and fan and player interactions. They've shown that over the course of the years now, and it goes all the way back to the malice at the Palace. And, even from, over the last couple of years to fans, getting removed from games for, getting out of line, the league has really taken a stand on that. And, obviously, it's the NBA Finals, so there's a ton of, eyes and attention on this. And I know, every decision that I've seen, Adam have to make, every tough decision, he's made those decisions. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, you got to give Kyle a lot of credit for the way he handled the situation. He was a true professional in the way he handled that.
Are you curious if there's maybe a double standard when you're talking about a partial owner in the way this will be handled? And also, are you embarrassed at all for the organization that it was one of your owners?
I mean, obviously, you know, this organization, you know, from the time I've been here and everything I've known about this organization has been a top-notch, upper echelon organization. And so definitely not the type of thing that you want out of somebody out of the ownership group when you're talking to the organization. And as far as the double standard, it's hard to really sit here and say there's a double standard when it comes to owner. And to my knowledge, there's been no ruling, no overall ruling yet. So I think before we start talking double standard, we at least need to get a league a fair chance to respond. You know, I think as much as everybody would want there to be a decision already, like I've been a part of situations, a lot of them, where not necessarily that, but where you got to talk to league security and then this guy and that guy, and they got to interview everybody. Like, that stuff take time. So as much as we all want, and when I say we all, I mean as the world in general want a response right now, like the one thing I can say is they do their diligence. And so you just got to let the process play out and see what happened. But I'm not going to sit here and say that there's a double standard and not give them a chance to respond and make whatever ruling they're going to make.
Tim in the back.
Draymond, Tim Pialcom, The Athletic, just following up on that a little bit, just specifically because he's a minority owner. LeBron has mentioned on his Instagram that he should be held to a higher standard. You're part of the team. You're part of representation of the team. Would you agree with that a minority owner should be held to standards of behavior higher than someone else?
I mean, I think you have to be. You know, when you're speaking of like, as players, we are held to a different standard. You know, coaches are held to anybody in the NBA circle. You're held to a different standard, and so I think it's no different. You know, when you start talking of anybody in any ownership group in the league, you're held to a different standard. And I mean, you can say it's unfair or not, like whatever your opinion is on it, whether you're one way or another. That's just the reality of it. We're all held to a different standard, and that's not going to change. You know, this game continues to grow. That standard continues to grow. You know, so you're not a player in 2019 is held to a different standard than a player was in 1999. Like, that's just the reality of where our game is today. We're all held to a different standard.
Fourth row.
Melissa Roll on The Guardian. Considering that every player, his whole career, this is the ultimate goal. Now you guys are here and Kevin Durant is out. He still has hope of coming back, the disappointment of, you know, still being held out. How is he handling all of that?
I mean, I think he's just trying to get healthy. I'm not really sure if he's being held out or he is. I mean, obviously, I think he's still recovering and whatever, but yeah, I don't really know what's Kevin's day-to-day dealings with the training staff. I try to spend as less time in the training room as I can, so I don't really know what their back and forth is.
Janie in the front.
Draymond, Janie McCauley from AP. They seem to have an answer for you guys. You know, every time you guys hit a big shot last night, they came up with something. How much getting Klay back in there can you guys make a big defensive adjustment? And Steph said last night, we can't count on our offense to win us another championship.
I think having, you know, Klay back is important. You know, when you talk about missing Klay, Kevin, and Kawhi, obviously everything will point to the offensive end. But they're three of our top 5 or 6 defenders. You know, and I think that's equally or even more important than the offensive side of the ball. Like, you know, we still scored 109 points last night. That's enough points to win. We won with 109. So, you know, we got to get stops. And I think, you know, adding Klay back to the fold, you know, is always going to make a difference. The way Klay pressures the ball, or the way he flies around on the defensive end, it'll, you know, that makes a big difference.
Back left and third row over here.
Draymond, Nick Friedel, ESPN. You guys have said it all along for a month. You're better with Kevin. You want him back. From y'all's perspective, what are your expectations if he is to come back in this series after missing so much time?
Well, he'll come back and draw a lot of attention because no coach is just going to be like, oh, he's coming off injury. Let's see if he's not quite Kevin Durant. Like, you're just not going to take that chance. So, it'll open the floor up more. That's for sure. But, Kevin's a competitor. And, as a competitor, when you step out there on the floor hurt or not, or just coming back from injury or not, you're going to give everything you got. And, he's way better than a lot of people when he's 100%. So if he's 75%, he'd still probably be better than a lot of people. So we'll see if he's able to come back or not.
Last one here in the third row.
Paul Antunes, ESPN Brazil. The last 4 games that you guys won, Draymond, you were down by 17-3, and you were down by 12 in your last win against the Raptors. Is there something about being down that kind of brings out the best in you personally? I know you guys played with tremendous pace in those 4 wins, and now you're down 2-1, kind of a do-or-die game 4 type of deal now.
I think, when you're hit with a little adversity, whether it's being down 2-1 or whether it's being down 17 or 12 or whatever it is, your true colors show. And I think that's just kind of the makeup of us. That's our DNA. Our backs are against the wall. We continue to fight. We have a lot of firepower, so all of a sudden we continue to fight, and then we go on a run. Some teams, they don't handle that situation well. You got to give them a lot of credit last night. It kept feeling like that run was right there. Nick Nurse took some key timeouts, and their guys answered every time we started to make a push. So you got to give them a lot of credit. But I just think, our best basketball is usually played when our backs are against the wall, whether that's in a series, whether that's in one particular game.
Thank you, Draymond. Coach Nurse will be right in.
All right, that was Draymond Green. The Raptors are supposed to speak next with head coach Nick Nurse leading things off. We're going to show you Klay Thompson speaking just moments ago. If Nick Nurse does come, we will cut off Klay, get you to Coach Nurse, and then go back to Klay a little later on. Let's go to Klay Thompson speaking just moments ago.
Hey, Klay, will you talk about your preparation over the last couple of days?
What's that?
Will you talk about your preparation over the last couple of days? And then the second part to that question is, you and Curry played over 100 playoff games together. What was it like to watch him play and do what he did last night, despite the loss?
Well, start the first part. Just a lot of time on the training table, a lot of time in the cold tub, acupuncture, just the basic remedies to get you ready for an NBA athlete. So a lot of that. It's a different type of grind, but I embrace it and it's fun. And secondly, just to see Steph go out there and put on a show, I'm very used to it. Very weird not being out there joining him. And it's a crappy part of sports, but I think it'll make me better and I'll be even healthier coming in tomorrow and ready to go.
Did you know when you left last night that you'd be a go?
What's that?
When you left last night, did you know that you'd be a go for Friday?
Yeah, I knew it. I could feel it. My body feels really good. And just that extra night of rest really helped. And I just can't wait to get out here tomorrow.
Is there still a sense that you might be slightly compromised and have to be limited in playing time?
No. I'll be myself.
Well, how did you process, the competitor and you wanting to play and kind of the Warriors' long-term view of things?
Well, I get where Steve and the staff are coming from. The risk was too great, and being down 2-1 is not the end of the world. It's been in this position before, so we can rely on our experience on getting guys back, and it just sucks missing a finals game. It's the NBA Finals, and it's what we work our whole lives for. But at the end of the day, I'd rather miss one game than an entire series, so it wasn't the end of the world.
Can you describe the waves of emotions that you were feeling watching that game, sitting
on the bench?
I mean, it's a lot more anxiety-induced than playing because you can't really control anything. It's all out of your hands, and all you can do is really support your teammates and be the best teammate you can be. Try to be that. You know, give Quinn advice where to get good shots. So tell Steph what I'm seeing. So it's not. No athlete wants to go through that, but it's the part of sports that you gotta face. You know, it's adversity, and it makes you tougher.
It looks like you're the only one who's coming back, and Kevin may not make it back this year. So how daunting is the challenge? That's the first part. And second part, what difference can you make on the defensive end in particular?
Well, it would suck if Kevin can't come back. I mean, I still think we'd have a good chance to win the finals, but obviously that takes a huge hit. I don't think it would make us the clear-cut favorite anymore without him. You know, this team's very good. But, sorry, what was the second part?
The defensive end, obviously they got off the
Yeah, I mean, I just think, being able to guard their guards out there, and they look really, they looked comfortable yesterday, and they were playing in great rhythm. So that makes you mad as you know, you want to get out there and stop them. I'll try and do that tomorrow.
Clay, when you talk about that experience that you've been through in terms of being 2-1 down before, do you have to harp back on those experiences at the situation you're in right now? Or is
It definitely helps. It's a different team, obviously, a different scenario being at home and then having to go win one on the road, but it definitely helps knowing we've done it before.
Does it feel like a kind of a different series, you being in the finals this time and having to play 4 on the road, potentially?
Yes, 100%. Never been in this position before, and just got to embrace it. So it's definitely different than having home court the last 4 years.
If you can disrupt that rhythm from three-point range, does that take them out of their offense and make it a lot more difficult for them against your offense?
It definitely helps. That's for sure. Because rhythm, basketball is a game of rhythm.
How do you think you can impact Game 4 after being able to sit back and watch Game 3?
Well, I think I can impact Game 4 by doing what I do, is getting buckets and getting stops.
Well, do you feel pretty comfortable with this?
We'll see. And after this workout I do this afternoon, but I anticipate I'll be feeling pretty good compared to where I was yesterday. And I woke up feeling good, so I'm excited.
So as we mentioned, cutting off Klay Thompson because head coach of the Toronto Raptors, Nick Nurse, is at the podium, and we want to hear from him after the Raptors took a 2-1 series lead last night at Oracle.
On this side in the back.
Hey, Nick, it's James Duthie from TSN over here. As the buzzer went last night, you kept sitting with your head to the floor for a few seconds. I understand it would have been your mom's 95th birthday on Tuesday. Is that who you were thinking about in that moment, and what would all of this have meant to her?
Yeah, I was, and she obviously was passed away during the season in our West Coast road trip. She didn't live long enough to see me get the head coaching job, and you know, was a huge part of. I mean, like any mom, right? She went to every game I played when I was younger, and when I played in college. My senior year, my dad retired early so they could go to every single game, home and away. Put a lot of miles on the car and all that kind of stuff. But they were big fans, and obviously it was a big, tough win yesterday, and she's on my mind every day. But she was a little more after her birthday the day before.
Crick, USA Today. Kawhi said that he wasn't aware that Klay wasn't going to play until right before tip-off. I was just curious what you guys were able to exploit on the offensive end without him on the floor.
Well, you know, we didn't know. We had him on the board and as a starter when we left the locker room because he was active, right? And we just, you know, it wasn't like we were trying to exploit anything. We said, you know, we're changing anything. We're just trying to play with some pace and some space and hit the open man a little better. You know, like they are, you learn some things about how you need to play against these teams each and every game, and then it's a matter of can you do it. And then it really becomes a matter of, can you make the shots at the end of it? And I think we did a really good job of that last night. We moved the ball a lot better. And we made more shots than we did in game 2. And that was a big part of the offensive success.
I think all 6 scorers shot more than 50% of the field. How much do you think that Klay being out contributed to that, or was they just making shots?
He's a great defender. I think he's one of the best, right up there at the top of the best wing defenders in the league. I mean, he's probably underrated in that department. I mean, he really puts in some awesome defensive performances for them, especially when they really need him. So probably helped us.
Mark over here.
Yeah, Mark Berman, New York Post. How did you take the reaction to your box and one defense, where it seems like a lot of people were kind of mocking it, even though it was successful? It seemed to just rolled off your back. I mean, how did you react to all the mocking? It seemed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't really care. I don't really give a crap. Is my line. Like, I mean, if things work, I don't care if we go out there and 4 guys stand on their head and we get a stop, right? And it was very effective. The only basket they got against it was a 3-pointer by Iguodala with 8 seconds to go or something like that.
Third row on the right.
Simone Sandri, Gazzetta dello Sport, Italy. I'm right here. How challenging was the psychological approach to the game last night? In a situation where your opponent is missing major pieces, sometimes there's a bit of overconfidence creeping in. And instead, you guys were really concentrated from the get-go, and you kind of set the tone in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way you got to be. There's a lot of scenarios now, maybe more than in the past. I mean, we had a lot of games where we were missing our key guys this year. I think Kawhi missed 20-some. Kyle missed 20-some. We played against a lot of teams where guys are in and out. It's happening. So you just, I don't know, you can't really let it affect you. You got to go play the game no matter who's out there. And at this time of year, everybody's going to play really hard and everybody's got good players. So I'm glad that we didn't let it affect us. It's critical. Games are critical right now.
Eric on the right.
Hey, Nick. Eric Curry, The Athletic. You'll be pleased to know that Steph said there was nothing janky about your defensive strategy on him last night. With Klay being out, how much extra attention were you guys able to spend on Steph? And how do you think your guys did in executing that plan? Obviously, he had many points. 47 points, Eric. I don't know if we had enough attention on him or we had anything going on him, to be honest with you. But I was happy with we just wanted to play more solid defense, right? And that for us means getting it set up, getting some pressure on the ball, contesting shots of all players, right? You know, that to me, I thought our shot contests were great all the way across the board. And that was a big key.
Steve in the back left.
Nick, Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun. Kawhi was taking between 21 and 23 shots a game in the last 2 rounds. He's down to 17 now. Is that the plan? Is that intentional, or is that just circumstantial?
Well, there's never a plan of like X amount of shots, a specific plan, right? You guys have heard me say I'd like to have Kyle take 10 threes every night. But the plan is that you attack them. When you draw multiple defenders, do your best to get off it, because you've done your job. If you've drawn multiple, 2 guys or 3 guys, you've really done your job, and hit the open man and play from there. He's probably getting a lot more double teams this series than he has in the past, so that's going to limit his shots. But I also think, especially last night, he did a better job of getting off it a little earlier, and it helped us.
Over on the right side.
Alvaro Martini, ESPN, along the same lines. Kawhi seemed to have taken more spot-up shots in that game yesterday than perhaps in recent time. Is it a matter of him reacting to what he sees? Is it a general instruction, an observation you've made to him? He's capable of making them, obviously.
Yeah, he's taking the opportunities that are there, and he got some last night, especially in transition. And he's a really, really good shooter. You know, when he vaults up from three with space, you're pretty surprised when it doesn't go in because he's got great mechanics. He's usually got it on line. When he doesn't make them, he sometimes gets a little flat. But usually when he vaults up from three with a good room, you know, some space between them, you feel pretty good about that. And he got some of those last night.
Right on the second row on the right.
Over here on your right. Last night, Kyle said that the Raptors are really benefiting from the championship experience that Leonard and Green have added to the team and from yours at a lower level. So despite all the winning that this franchise has done, does a game last night, is that something they needed to kind of fuel the belief that they can win at the ultimate level?
Maybe, but I'm not really trying to think about that. Again, like, to me, this is a one-game series tomorrow. We're just trying to take them like each game's critical. We need to put a huge effort in because I think if we put a huge effort in and we're the hardest playing team, then we're going to deserve to win. And that's all we're focused on.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
We have Kawhi
Thank you.
Leonard will be right up.
All right, that was Nick Nurse, obviously hoarse-throated
Yeah,
from what was probably a long night of screaming on the game
Yes.
and recovering as well. He talked about the emotion he showed following it as well. If you don't know, Nurse is the youngest of 9 siblings.
It's incredible.
His mom would have turned 95 on
Yep.
Tuesday. She passed away this season. She said she always envisioned him coaching, and she wished that he would win a championship. Even if she wasn't there to watch it physically, she'd always be watching him. You can understand why that would get a man like him
Absolutely.
emotional. He's a guy that's very candid and open generally. We now
And
know why.
it's come full circle, right?
Yeah.
Because I noted at the end of the game yesterday doing our lives that he looked quite emotional. Not as emotional of a dude, but coming to the podium is none other than Kawhi Leonard. So we will take you back to Oracle to hear from the Claw.
First question, third row. Let's keep going.
Kawhi, how are you? Paul Antunes, ESPN Brazil. A hot topic of conversation always in the media is legacy, right? Players' legacy. When you left San Antonio, some were a little confused as to maybe where your career was heading. Maybe you got a little backlash. Some question how that would affect your legacy. Now you're here in Toronto. You're having a great season. You're having one of the best postseasons ever. 13 games with at least 30 points. And some are comparing you to Michael Jordan and saying how this could really positively affect your legacy, right? Is legacy, as it's portrayed by the media, important to you?
I mean, I've never been, one of those guys that, growing up in high school, getting all the media and the college media. So I don't really think my legacy is going to ever reach the potentials of Michael Jordan and, how the media followed them since they were a rookie. But as far as me, I just want to play and just let people remember that, I played hard on both ends of the floor. I was a winner, and that's basically it. I'm just here enjoying my dream and having fun. I mean, legacy is going to be opinionated by each person, but I'm just playing and worried about myself really and what I feel, what makes me happy.
But is it important to you how things have changed in the last few years and how you've been portrayed in the media?
It really didn't matter. I didn't make a decision off the media or what people thought of me. Like I said, I made it off my own personal views and what I've seen and how I felt as a person to make myself happy.
Second row on your right.
Hey, Kawhi, Trista Crick, USA Today. Just wanted to get your view from one two-way player to another. Just what you see in Klay's game that makes him so special defensively.
Just wanting to do it, I guess. Moving his feet, contesting shots, wanting to play defense. Quick feet, like I said. And that's what makes you a good defender. Just want to be able to do it, locking into your opponent, and you want to make a stop.
So effort is the key piece to you in terms of why people are good defenders and why they're not?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the skill comes into play. Like I said, having quick feet, able to read shots, contesting.
Michael, back left.
Kawhi, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. How much more are you convinced of this team's ability to win a title now than when, say, you were when the playoffs started?
It's the same mindset. If we didn't feel like we could be here, we wouldn't be here right now. Simple as that. I have the same confidence. You can't let losses or wins affect that. It's about, what you think and feel that's in your body, your inner thoughts, and what you portray to your team and what your team is, telling you and what we all feel, and that's why we're here. We have confidence.
Just as a follow-up, everyone wants to get a split on the road and kind of job done. How valuable, how important would it be to win both here at Oracle?
It'd be very important. There'll be a third win, and you need 4 to win. You already know how important that is. It's 3-1.
Mark Herman, New York Post. You played for one of the greatest coaches of all time, and Greg Popovich, and now you're playing for Nick Nurse first year. How impressed have you been with how he's handled his first year as coach, and do you think maybe is underappreciated?
He's done a great job. We're in the finals his first year. What else could you expect or want from a first-year coach other than a championship? I think he handled himself well. I really don't know what people are portraying of him. I don't read the media or see what you guys are saying about him. But I think he's been doing a great job.
Is there any element of his coaching that reminds you of a Popovich or any other coach you've had before?
Just competitive nature. Able to change schemes quickly, adjust. But it's tough to compare to somebody that's been coaching for 20 years and it's his first year in the NBA. Even though he been a head coach at other levels, so it's hard to compare that. You know what I mean? It's like a rookie you comparing to, a 15-year vet. That's a Hall of Fame vet. You know what I mean?
Steve and Mark, last 2 questions.
Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, over here. You're taking about 5 shots a game less than you were in the previous rounds. Is that game plan? Is that the way things are working out? Just circumstantial?
It doesn't matter. As long as we win, I didn't even know that. Like I said, it's not about me. I'm not about to play hero basketball. If it's 2 or 3 guys on me, I'm going to make sure somebody gets the ball and they're going to knock down a shot. And, obviously it is the finals, so, there's probably a little bit more attention on me on the worst side of not letting Kawhi get going and, make his teammates beat us. So, but other than that, whatever shot attempts that I get, I just got to make them and see where it goes from there. I can't play hero basketball or just because people want to see me, beat these records or want me to score 30 points does not mean I have to do that. I have to go out there and try to win a basketball game. Either that's, shots being limited on the offensive end, I'm going in playing harder on the defensive end, trying to get, us 5 more shots for somebody else.
Mark, last question here in the front.
Kawhi, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Last night, Kyle went into the crowd and was shoved by a fan who turns out to be a minority investor with the Warriors. Wondering what you think of the way Kyle handled it, how vulnerable a player is in that situation, and knowing that this was a part owner of the team, how you feel about what should be done.
I mean, the league will figure that out. I mean, Kyle handled it great. You know, he kept playing. I think he told the referee what happened. But, you know, he probably thought about it 5 seconds and then, you know, got back to the game, which is important. Not taking no possessions off, reminiscing on what a fan did or our owner. But, you know, that's how it is. You know, these fans are coming out, watching the game. You know, they feel like they're on their team and they're competitive as well. Probably a little bit under, you know, the influence and, you know, things like that happen. You know, this ain't the first time we've seen something like that. But we have to do a better job of, you know, the NBA just of making sure these fans don't come in and think they could just touch guys and hit them. You know, that's a little extreme. All the name calling and things like that is okay, other than disrespecting your family, you know, talking about us, but other than putting your hands on someone, that's disrespectful.
Thank you, Kawhi.
All right, that was Kawhi Leonard. The most poignant answer was the one at the end, asked about Kyle Lowry in the crowd. He said, obviously, that stuff can't happen. The best answer, of course, was when he was asked on the importance of winning tomorrow in Oracle. He said, literally, it would be very important. It would be our third win, and you need 4 wins. It would be 3-1. Kawhi Leonard has been a gem.
The Raptors have to score more points than the Warriors to win the game and eventually, hopefully, the championship.
All right, so Kyle Lowry is coming up next. Obviously, he's going to be asked a lot about the incident from yesterday. We'll get to him when he gets there, but another Raptor just spoke.
Yeah, such a balanced effort we saw in Game 3. One of those being Marc Gasol, who really held DeMarcus Cousins to a tough night, 1 for 7 shooting. Gasol had 17 points, and he spoke off with the other cameras.
Mark, what incredible team performance, the team ethos. The most impressive thing about last night's performance. Just from your standpoint, did you feel it being involved in?
Yeah, you could feel that the team was playing well, that it was in rhythm, that was helping one another, communicating, sharing the basketball, all the good things that happen in team sports.
And going into it as well, did you understand that you wanted to beat them as a unit rather than when you have someone like Steph going off for 47? Did you understand as a team it takes a collective effort?
You want to win, and you want to do whatever puts you closer to that ending. So we understand that our strength is the team, and we have so much talent on the team and guys that can do multiple things, but we got to do it as a unit.
Mark, so often when something goes wrong for a player off the court, there are repercussions and there are consequences. When a part owner shoves a player in game, what's your reaction to that?
It's very unfortunate that somebody feels that he needs to do that, or that something inside like pushes him to act a certain way. At the same time, I look at the other. I don't know how many people fit here. How they behave at the same time. Obviously, it's a really bad example, but we can look at many other people, how they're behaving and how nice they've been. So obviously, it's unfortunate. I'm sure it's going to be handled, but I also want to. I'd rather look at the bright side and see how many other people, it's supportive and cheering for the team and booing us when they have to. But obviously, it's not acceptable.
From a basketball standpoint, how important is it going to be for you to be aggressive on Cousins, just to go right at him?
It's just, I think more than being the guy that guarded me early on the game, it's me being aggressive, period. So it's not a conscious effort going at him, it's me more being aggressive myself. So that's the mindset.
Did you get away from that at all in Game 2, or did you make a more concerted effort in Game 3 to be aggressive personally?
We created more space on some of the actions. We did a little more movement on Game 3. So collectively, we had a conscious effort of it. Yeah.
Getting back to the incident with Kyle, do you have an opinion on what the punishment should be for the hands?
I think there's enough thinking heads right now, analyzing and seeing what's the best for that. But just always got to keep in mind, the example that is being set. to the younger generations. That's not ideal to interact with a player that I just go for a ball out of bounds. I'm sure that that is going to be handled.
All right, so welcome back to our practice day coverage. Faisal Khamisa, Danielle Michaud with you. And if you're just tuning in, that was Marc Gasol. We've heard from all of the Warriors. We've also heard from Nick Nurse and Kawhi Leonard. We're waiting on Kyle Lowry. And thought we'd just give you a quick recap of a few major points. One being no Kevin Durant for Game 4, with Klay Thompson likely to play.
Yeah, Klay Thompson, when he spoke maybe half an hour ago, seemed very indicative that he would be playing tomorrow. Steve Kerr says no minute restriction for him as well. So that seems to be a positive for the Warriors. The Raptors, of course, with a chance to go up 3-1. The Warriors can tie this up. There's a trade that happened in the NBA just moments ago as well.
We need a banner, an alarm.
That's okay. Yeah. We'll get sound effects here as things go on, all right? So the deal is this. Alan Crabb, number 17 pick in the 2019 draft, and a protected first in 2020, going from Brooklyn to Atlanta for Taurean Prince and a 2021 second-round pick. It's kind of innocuous at first, but then you realize Brooklyn opens up more cap space. That gives them $46 million in cap space this summer. They have D'Angelo Russell to re-sign if they want, and another max player they can get, or 2 max slots. Woj also saying Kyrie Irving is serious about the Nets, and the Nets are serious about beating the Knicks and the rest of the league to the biggest free agents in the marketplace. That involves Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard as well. So some interesting subplots to this as well for Atlanta. Good trade for them. Obviously, they get a bunch of draft picks. They have 3 in the first 17. Now, who knows if they're done dealing. None of this can become official until July when the moratorium period is over. But you better believe that when Woj drops a bomb like that during the middle of the NBA Finals, there are some serious implications that go beyond just player-for-player trade.
Well, and there's been lots of chatter about Kyrie actually being in New York. He's been spotted numerous times.
40-40 Club. Reports
right?
confirmed. That's Jay-Z's club. Apparently, he was there with some members of the Nets last night, and so
how much do you read into that, though, Faze?
You know, I love
these
the
players
drama.
have things to do.
They're friends.
People
and they like
to see,
hang out.
places to go. Unlike us, they can just be like, I'm going to New York for the weekend. So
you can't do that?
I don't know, not really.
I can't either.
I could, but it would probably crush me. So Kyrie, on the other hand, can.
Yeah.
And maybe he's just visiting, but I kind of love the constant, you do one thing and there's an immediate reaction.
I love it.
Oh, he's in New York. He's going to sign with Brooklyn.
I also love the beef, the borough beef between Brooklyn and New York as well, right? And the Knicks, everyone suggested, Zion, KD, Kyrie, that team is back. Well, Brooklyn seems to be the favorites for Kyrie. Zion is obviously not going there, and KD, who knows if they don't get if one other free agent, if he even decides to go there, who knows how healthy he is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just some news to drop in for you as well. In the middle of all this NBA Finals, there's still a lot of basketball things going on. Should say as well, Canadian Dwight Powell with the Mavs, he's expected to sign an extension with them in July 2. He's going to opt into the final year, $10+ million for this year, and sign an extension, a little CanCon, during a CanCon NBA Finals too. So a lot going on. We are waiting for Kyle Lowry. Everyone that has spoke so far today on the podium or beyond the podium has addressed the issue in the stands last night with the investor part owner Mark Stevens, who has been banned by the NBA as they continue their review. The Warriors putting out a statement, suggesting his actions were not positive as well, and they didn't support them. There's a lot of stuff that people are saying. We're going to hear what Kyle Lowry says. I question whether or not he'll even bring it up beyond maybe just saying, it happened, the league is dealing with it, because they seem so laser focused. That Kendrick Perkins tweet last night, after the game, he said, hey, I just witnessed something, and no smiles, no cheering, all business, and from a guy that has been a champ before in Perk, that's a sign that they're ready to just focus on winning tomorrow.
I suppose we could focus instead on how the Warriors all said how well he handled it, and Kyle now entering the room about to hit the podium, so we'll see if he's asked of the incident. I imagine he is, and we'll hear his response. Here's Kyle Lowry at the press.
Janie, first question here in the front.
Hi, Kyle.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Janie McCauley from AP. The Warriors and the NBA have both suspended. The man who shoved you ended up being a minority owner of the team, and everybody on the Warriors is crediting you for the way you handled that situation. A day later, can you kind of take us through it, and do you appreciate the reaction quickly from all sides?
First of all, I want to thank the Warriors for the statement they issued, and in the NBA also. That's just, what our league is about, and protecting the players. And like I said last night, there's no room in our game for that.
In that situation, I don't think I could have handled it any better. I'm glad I did what I did, and understanding that, things could have been a lot different if I reacted a different way, or if I did something, or put my hands on them, or did anything in that nature. But the support I've gotten from fellow players, the league, has been unbelievable. With that being said, I think more should be done. I don't think he's not a good look for the ownership group that they have, and I know Joe Lacob. Those guys are great guys. The ownership that they have, that I know, they're unbelievable guys. But a guy like that showing his true class, and he shouldn't be a part of our league. There's just no place for that.
Jeff, standing on the right.
Jeff Zilgate, USA Today. Kyle sets it went a little sideways last night. Could you confirm what the guy said to you to go blank yourself? Is that accurate?
Yeah, multiple times.
And then in that situation you were just talking about, how did you keep your cool?
Understanding at the moment my team needed me. Understanding that there are plenty of fans and kids in the world watching this game. And me being a grown man, having kids myself, and I'm a grown man, and my kids could always go back and see that. And anywhere other situation, if it wasn't, in this situation, things may have been, they probably would have been done differently, handled differently by me. But understanding that, like, I have 2 young children, and to being able to hold myself to a certain standard, which I do, I hold myself to a high standard, and I got to make sure that I uphold that. And that's a big thing for me, is being a guy that, upholds himself to a high standard, and never, letting guys like him get under your skin, because that's bullcrap.
Standing back left.
Martinzi Johnson, the undefeated. Draymond Green in the past has called for the term owners to be done away, just because it gives these people this owner mentality, looking at players not as people but as kind of assets. With the incident that took place yesterday, do you think that gives further credence to what he's been saying as far as how maybe owners see athletes just because of the name that they're given? Yeah,
I mean, not everyone, not all of them, but certain ones, yes. And I can say for sure that guy makes me feel like that. Mark Stevens, whoever his name is, makes me feel like he's one of those guys. And Draymond with that, and I remember him saying that. I believe it's true. It's definitely, we call it the board of governors, but people in the world, we call it ownership, but it should be changed. And a guy like that definitely shows, that's what he feels to me.
Michael on the right.
Kyle, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. How were you able to kind of separate yourself in that moment and quickly get back to what you were doing on the floor? And when did you begin to realize how big a moment you were kind of got caught up in?
I think whatever happened, and I was still, I was furious. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a couple minutes to kind of, I think it was a foul. The ball came in play. I was still thinking about it. And the foul was called, and I believe we called a timeout. And I was pretty upset. And Marc Gasol and kind of came into me, look, kind of, come on, we need you, kind of come back, kind of, they'll handle it. And Freddie and Kawhi and those guys, Danny, kind of, like, don't try to come back here. We need you to stay in this moment and understand the situation that we were in as a basketball game. And that's what it's about. It's about us winning the basketball game. It definitely kind of brought me back quicker. And understand, I didn't realize, I mean, I knew it would be a big deal, but I didn't know it would be as big of a deal as him being a part of the group that, writes the checks. And that makes it even more of a place where he should know, this is what happens when you sit courtside. It's a possibility that a guy's trying to make a hustle play. If Mark Davis wasn't in the way, I think I would have saved it. But it just happens, and you can't show. I mean, you can do what you want, and obviously he did what he wanted to do at that moment, and he wanted to, push me and curse at me.
Slightly off topic or different topic would be going people come out to Oracle, you want to get one. That's the goal, always on the road. How greedy are you guys about an opportunity to get two?
We got to go out there and do our job. We got to continue to be better as a basketball group. We watched film this morning, and we found a lot of mistakes that we made. I think we got to continue to just stay in the moment, continue to push the pace, and continue to play defense the way we know how to play defense, and try to do what we can do, and control what we can control.
Tim, standing in the back right.
Kyle, Tim Reynolds with the AP, kind of a two-parter. When LeBron came out earlier today and said, okay, cool, but don't stop here, as far as the reaction, what did that mean to you as far as that kind of support? And secondly, for as angry as you were last night, is it kind of a different anger today that you guys won a finals game at Oracle and you had 23 and the guys played great and this person's actions have kind of become the story of the finals at this point?
The one thing about Brian, he's always been an activist, and he's always been there. But he's unbelievable with this, and I sent a message to him. He sent one back, and I thanked him because he's one of the biggest athletes and most vocal guys that we have out there, and his just how his social activism has been amazing, and he sticks up for his fellow players, and he always does the right thing, and that's the one thing about him. He's been doing the right thing his whole career, and it means a lot. It really does mean a lot to be able to have the support, a guy like him and other players also reaching out and having support. And it sucks that this has to take the front page of the kind of the finals. It's been it's been a fun finals. It's been a competitive finals. And it really sucks that this has to, take part and had to be a part of it. For me, this will be my last, time talking about it and, dealing with it because it's here and it's now, and hopefully the NBA does more and continue to move forward with this. But it sucks because, at the end of the day, we just want to play basketball. We're playing basketball and we're trying to win a championship. And our family and our friends are, supporting us and watching us, and our colleagues are watching. And the game takes a little bit of a backseat because of this, and it sucks. But we'll get back and we'll have our conversations today about it, and hopefully the league does what they suppose. Hopefully they do what I think they should do. Hopefully, and we'll get back and focus for the game tomorrow.
One quick follow: has that person reached out to you or made any attempt to reach out to you as far as you know?
No, I don't. I don't think there's any. For me personally, I don't know him. I don't care to know him. He showed his true colors at the time, and you show what you're really about at that time in that moment, and that's not you get the reaction of everyone else saying this, that, and the other. That's kind of the whole. You show what you really are, and for me, if that happened to me, hey, you okay, you good, and move on. But at that moment, the heat of the moment, you really, when the pressure and the tightness is on you, show who you really are.
Thanks. Kyle, Sean Gregory, Time Magazine. What was your reaction when you found out that Mark Stevens, the guy who pushed you, was part owner of the team?
Unbelievable. Even worse. I mean, he should understand, this is what happens. It's basketball. I'm competing. I'm trying to save a basketball. I'm trying to help my team get a possession. And it just sucks, man. It just sucks that you got people like that.
Melissa Rowland, The Guardian. You said that you hope the league does what you'd like them to do. I'm curious, what do you want them to do, first of all? And then second of all, you mentioned you thought about your children. Marcus Gasol kind of talked you down. Was there a moment where that could have gone another way? How did you kind of, keep your cool and restrain yourself?
I think what I think and what I feel is a guy like that shouldn't be a part of our league. Being honest with you, that's my personal opinion. That's just how I feel. And we've had situations like this before, and it's and the league's done the right thing, and that's protecting the players and protecting the image of the league. And the second part, it could have gone the other way. It definitely could have gone bad. But I'm bigger than him as a person. My kids are more important to me than he is to me. So I got to make sure that I always, think for my kids first, and that's what it's all about.
Last two in the back, and then Phil here in the front.
Cameron Buford here, LA News Observer. Hey, Kyle,
kudos to you on number one, how you controlled yourself, controlled your emotions.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the W last night.
Thank you.
How can Klay wasn't playing yesterday? How does Klay's absence impact the performance yesterday? And then what do you think he's supposed to play tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Klay's how he can impact the game tomorrow?
Well, it takes a all-star, all NBA guy off the floor. that's one. It made Steph be a lot more aggressive, and still having 47 points, doing everything he could possibly do to help his team win the game. I think Klay is going to come out and be aggressive and be himself. The one thing about Klay, he brings defense, he brings offense, he brings just that extra swag that they have as a team. And as an individual competitor, he's one of the toughest guys out there.
Phil in the front.
Hey, Kyle. Phil Barber, Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Just to clarify a couple points, when you were chasing that ball out of bounds, did one of the fans, maybe the woman, slap or try to catch the ball or something? And go ahead.
I didn't see that. I hit the ball. I was trying to just dive and save it, and I made a good save. It just happened to hit the official that was Mark Davis that was standing there, and he was standing out of bounds, so it was a good call by him out of bounds.
And then the other thing, you spent a good while during that timeout talking to the officials.
Mm-hmm.
What were you advocating for at that time?
For him to be gone. I mean, he shouldn't. At that moment, it should have been taken care of right away. You know, I'm not the guy that's. I understand. Listen, I love our fans. We have great fans. But for you to push me, to curse at me, and to say things to me, that's intolerable. At all. He should not. And at that moment, I wanted it to be taken care of. But, we're discussing it now. Hopefully things, get taken care of. I appreciate the Warriors again for their apology, the NBA for stepping up, and, we'll see what happens from there. Thank you.
Kyle.
All right, I was very wrong. Kyle Lowry talked almost exclusively about the incident with Warriors part owner Mark Stevens, ejected from the game for shoving Lowry. Lowry confirming a report that Stevens told him to go blank himself several times when Lowry tried to save the ball in the crowd, in the stands, in that place over there. Lowry very strong in his comments. A guy like that shouldn't be part of our league. Your thoughts, Danielle?
I can't disagree at all, and I think he's so vocal about it because he wants this to be taken seriously, because these kinds of things just don't have a place in any league.
Well, anywhere, any workplace, period.
This
right?
behavior is uncalled for entirely, but I will agree, it's more disappointing or feels worse that it's someone who's a part of the organization, and that regardless of how quiet maybe the Warriors were about it, waiting for it to be dissected a little bit more, they've got to be embarrassed that this is someone who's a part of their upper-level staff who would treat a visiting player like that.
Well, Lowry reiterated as well. Joe Lacob, the other owners are great.
Awesome.
This guy is not. This guy should not be part of our league. He said, and Lowry commended himself, and I think a lot of people commended him as well for how he handled it, because if he goes and does something differently, if he goes and puts his hands on Mark Stevens, we're talking about something completely different, and people, I think, are calling Kyle Lowry something a lot worse than what they're calling Mark Stevens right now, right?
Yeah.
And so for Lowry to address that exclusively and say, again, he hopes this is the last time he has to address it. He trusts the league will take care of it. He was asked, he told the league what he wants to have done, and somebody asked him what that was. He said, I want this guy out of our league, period.
And he also mentioned LeBron and the support.
Yes.
Thanked LeBron for reaching out
Yeah.
and for posting what he did, because it's those kind of voices that will allow for this to be solved in a way that everyone feels good about.
It says a lot about this league in general that the star, the
face of the league,
undeniable number one star in the league, LeBron James, puts an Instagram post like this long, advocating for change and suggesting things like that should never happen, and players need to be protected. It says a lot about the league and the power the players have that something like that was said by LeBron James, and Kyle Lowry openly praising LeBron for always doing the right thing, he says. Specifically in this incident, they exchanged texts, and Lowry thanked LeBron for putting out that Instagram post. It must mean a lot to other players who are not as big as LeBron, literally everybody, that a guy like that is at the head of your charge at wanting change like that.
It's got your back.
Yeah.
In general, behavior just needs to be better. And another thing that's kind of come out of this, I don't know if you saw Ramona Shelburne's tweets from ESPN, but Nicole Curran, who was sitting beside Beyonce and Jay-Z Jay-Z courtside is the wife of the owner of the Warriors.
Joe Lake, yeah.
And there was a clip where Beyonce's got a big smile, and the smile fades, and a narrative is written for whatever reason. However, people want to say, well, Nicole received death threats.
Yeah.
She had to disable her Instagram account. Let's just be better, everyone. On the internet in general, you really can affect people, and this was a completely made-up narrative. She was asking Jay-Z, what do you want to drink?
That's it.
What do you want to drink?
And he said it was loud in there, so she had to lean in and ask him a little bit more. So
let's all be better, okay?
Yeah, let's all be better on social media just in general. All right. So the formal part of Media Day today is done. Obviously, Game 4 is tomorrow. The Raptors up 2-1. Asked Kawhi how important winning Game 3 would be. He said it's very important. They would have 3 wins. They need 4.
Correct.
Other Raptors did speak during that formal period on the court at just in scrums. Let's start with, I think, Danny Green. Danny Green, who
Major
spoke,
performance.
not too long ago after his big performance in Game 3.
Kawhi was saying last night that it's important for the offense to keep going the flow. So sometimes when he has the ball, the offense was getting stagnant, and the importance of movement to get guys that are going to be open in the corner sitting next to him.
I said he's done a great job of evaluating the defense and looking, watching over film, and he sees where he can thrive, and he sees where his mistakes are and where he can get better at. So he picks and chooses his moments to score, and I think he's seen in the film of how our flow kind of got slowed down, and it wasn't due to him always. Some him, some others, and we all kind of held the ball and tried to make plays and try to be aggressive and do it all on our own, kind of hero ball type of thing, one-on-one. That's not how you're going to beat this team, especially when they're healthy. We don't know what they're going to be next game, if they're going to be 100% healthy or not, regardless of the fact that we had to play our best basketball because they're that good. If they're healthy or not, they're very capable of winning games. And I said, he knows and sees the flow of the offense and how well it can thrive when we're moving it faster, and he can still pick his spots and score.
Last question.
When you're moving it that way, how do you thrive best in the offense?
Myself individually?
Yeah.
Just moving, being active. To run the floor, I think our pace is the key, the biggest key. If we can get stops, it would be great. We get set defense, and if we just push the pace, run the floor where they're not matched up, or if we're just cutting, slashing through, setting screens, hard cuts, it'll allow us to get more open, uncontested looks.
Danny, is Kawhi the type of person that opens up as
All right, that was Danny Green speaking after his massive performance. He only shot 3-pointers yesterday, which I guess worked out in his favor. Greatest 3-point percentage ever in the NBA Finals, which, considering how things were for the Raptors, beginning of the playoffs, in the middle of the playoffs, and near the end of the playoffs for Danny Green, they will certainly take this version of Danny right now with a chance to go up 3-1.
Let me hit you with that stat, because it's a pretty one. Raps, the third finals team to shoot 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the charity stripe, joining only 2 teams, the 2017 Warriors and 1986 Celtics, both of which went on to win the championship.
It was a pretty historic game yesterday for the Raptors, again, doing everything they needed to do to win a game without Klay Thompson in the lineup. You may have seen the Pascal Siakam font on Danny Green. It's because Pascal Siakam is speaking as well. Let's get you to Spicy P after his big game yesterday, too.
It seems like you've been very important for the Raptors in this series. And the first game you had a great game, and maybe they were a little surprised, but no one is surprised by you anymore. Everyone does a great job. What do you think about the continuation of the series?
I think it's going to get tougher. It's going to get even tougher. We kind of, have that in mind and be ready for the challenge. And obviously, we just got to continue to work, continue to look at things and get better on, and continue to improve in the series.
The first game when you had your 32 points, I think afterwards they said that they hadn't quite been ready for that, but now they are ready for you always.
I guess, but I think I'm not really, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at myself and just finding ways to get better. I'm continuing to get better, and obviously I've never been at this level, but I'm learning every day and just going through the playoffs and all our ups and downs, and it's making me a better player.
What has improved most this season?
Just kind of like understanding the big stage and not being down on myself a lot, or just understanding that it's going to be good games, it's going to be bad games, but just continue to have the same energy and control the things that I can control.
Pascal, early in the series, Steve Curry said that your game reminds him of Draymond Green and the way that you guys were able to create offense from the forward position. Now having played Draymond for a few games, what do you think about those comparisons?
I always answer that question. You know, I'm trying to be myself, and you know, I'm just trying to be a better version of myself, and just continue to work hard to be, you know, the best that I can be, and that's to you know, look at other players.
People have made those comparisons and mentioned that your ability to kind of create the ball in your hands despite being a power forward, even when you're being drafted in that process. Can you remember how your draft process?
I think, you know, it was definitely something. It was a little different. I think I've always thought that, you know, I have the ability to be at this level. You know, maybe like not a lot of, you know, draft boards or whatever, you know, put me at that position. But I always, you know, felt like I had the capacity to be here, and I've always believed and worked to be here. So it's definitely, you know, I'm blessed to be at this level now. So I'm just blessed to be here, continue to work hard, and be the best that I can be. I mean, this is something that I developed and continue to work on that, and that's definitely a part of my game that's improving, and I'm just continue to improve on that.
Pascal, are you the best player in the NBA from Cameroon right now?
Come on, man.
Say it.
Nah, man.
You gotta say it.
Why?
Confident.
No, it's cool. I don't have to say it. You know, I'll let you guys say it for me.
Can you talk about what Basketball Without Borders, that program, means to you? And then some of the other guys who you think, give us an insight to some of these other guys, cats coming up behind you, in their talent level. If you can mention it, if you can name a name or two.
I don't know if I can do that. Name, I don't really know, but I think it's great for me to be here, Joel and all those guys, and be at this level, just to be able to put, you know, Africa on the map, and Cameroon. It's a blessing, and we just want to continue to do that, and make sure that, you know, we continue to do our best for the continent and the country, and knowing that you know, we definitely have the talent level to be at this stage, and you know, we just got to continue to work on developing those skills and making sure that we do everything possible.
Most complete offensive performance for you guys in this series, one of the best in the playoffs. Now looking back, okay, later, what was most impressive for your team offensively last night?
I mean, I think, you know, obviously we made like more shots, but then just, I think, like the force that we had offensively, just continue to run our stuff and cutting harder and keeping the pace that we wanted into the game, not slowing down too much. I think that was the biggest difference for me. I think offensively, playing with more force and taking the open shots, you know, and you know, they kind of went in. So.
When Fred hit the moon ball, the buzzer beater there, is it make him more your favorite player?
Yeah, definitely. That's my favorite player right there. I looked at. I mean, yeah, it was high, and yeah, when it dropped, it was definitely crazy. That was a good shot.
Do you feel that the pressure's all on them for this game 4?
I feel like, you know, for us, it's, you know, we want to win every single game, and we come in with that mentality, and, you know, I'm not really worried about, you know, what's like about them. It's about us, and just continue to get better and find new ways to improve.
Klay coming back in game 4, how do you feel like you guys need to prepare differently for him being back?
I don't think we really prepare differently, because I think we always prepare like he's going to play every single game, and you know, just got to have our game plan ready, and be ready to be out there, and then just expect him to play.
Siakam, how do you feel like you answer this question? I was some kernels. Did you see what happened with Lowry and the fan, and just wanted to hear your thoughts about that and what the NBA has done on the Warriors?
I mean, I think like it's, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what, you know, but I kind of saw the play, you know, him being pushed. I mean, obviously that wasn't cool, and you know, I'm sure, you know, Kyle himself had, you know, things to say about that, and you know, I'm just gonna, you know, support whatever he said.
Siakam, how do you feel like you elevated yourself as a player during your time in the playoffs?
I think just going through all the ups and downs in the playoffs, and you know, from all the series from Orlando to Milwaukee, just different series and different battles, and it just made me a better player, going through the struggles and ups and downs, and understanding that this stage, you know, we are the biggest stage, and that, you know, every series is going to be different, and there's going to be things that you're going to have to do to play at this level, and more attention on you. So definitely a learning experience for me.
The Warriors, you've beaten them before, even for all the injuries during the regular season. Is it a team that is it easy for you to play Warriors?
I mean, obviously the champions. Nothing is easy in the NBA. So I think we always, have our mentality. Obviously, we want to beat anybody that we play against, but we obviously know that we have we play against champions, and it's going to be harder.
Last one.
Can you describe the kind of leadership of Kawhi? What does he bring to the team? You say he brings some sense of calmness of peace.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things he brings. Just he's always, no matter what, who was down 2-0 in Milwaukee, he was the same, and 2-1 in Philadelphia, he was the same. So I think having that guy that's always told us that he's gonna be okay, and we can get out of this. We just got to continue to play and control what we can control, and the rest is gonna happen. So I think that's definitely a good way to lead.
How surprised are you of the greatness of the Toronto Raptors fans? Yesterday they were singing the anthem after the game.
Oh, I mean, it's awesome, man. Best fans in the league. I don't think that's a secret. Just excited to be a part of that, and I'm just, I'm just happy, man. We just got to continue to do what we can do to get the, win every single game that we play in, and I think the support is just, unbelievable.
Thanks, everybody.
Let's go. Thank you.
All right, lots of Raptors we heard from today. Lots of people in general we heard from today, including Klay and Boogie, who were not on the podium for the Warriors. Let's, before we leave, let's reset everything that kind of happened in the last now almost 2 hours. Warriors side, KD out for Game 4, still has not practiced. There was a thought he might scrimmage today with the younger players who did practice. Not going to happen. Kerr hopes in the next couple days he will. After Friday, the next game is Monday. So there's some time in between there, but as we saw yesterday with the ice pack, it doesn't look good yet.
The word Kerr used was hurdle. Still a hurdle before he can even hit the court for practice, much less in a game scenario.
Klay Thompson looks like he's cleared his.
Yes.
Expected to play tomorrow, although if you heard from him as we played earlier, he sounded pretty confident he would be in the game. He said, I'm excited to get back out there. Suggestions that he will play in Game 4.
And the concept of the Raptors preparing like he wouldn't play seems silly.
Yeah.
You got to want to think at this point, especially with the 2-1 series lead, that they need Klay out there, and they'll get him out there.
All right, another interesting one. Kevon Looney, who was ruled out for the remainder of the finals with a collarbone injury. They're getting a second opinion.
Yeah.
There's a suggestion that he might be able to return a little later in the series as well. So that was an interesting tidbit from today from the Warriors' perspective. All of them, the Warriors who spoke today, Curry, Draymond, Steve Kerr, Klay Thompson, again, negatively reacting to the incident last night with one of their part owners, Mark Stevens. Some of them don't even know who he is, of course, with a lot of those companies are investors who just put up money. All of them, again, saying things like that should not be part of the league, apologizing to the Raptors and Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and that was the big thing I took from it was how giving kudos to Lowry for handling it the way that he did. Lowry, of course, highlighting that he's a father. He has 2 young boys, and he wants to set a good example, unlike the man who was sitting courtside.
All right, from a Raptors perspective, well, they're up 2-1.
Yep.
Good defense. Steph said nothing janky about the defense they played in Game 3, although he went off for 47, but everyone else was kind of shut down.
38% shooting from the rest if you were not named Steph.
Yes, exactly, which is exactly what you want if you're the Raptors. Again, we'll see how different it is with Klay. We don't know how limited he'll be, although Steve Kerr says no minute restrictions for Klay as well. The Raptors spoke business as usual, it seems, beyond the incident yesterday. All of them addressed it as well, suggesting it's not good. Kyle Lowry even said, a guy like that, Mark Stevens, should be out of our league completely. We'll see what the NBA does. All of them, again, said the NBA they trust will do the right thing as they have in other situations. Not like this particularly, but other incidents that have kind of emerged in the past as well. Adam Silver usually has a good finger on the pulse of what's going on with these things.
Yeah, and then we heard from Kawhi Leonard, who was getting right to the meat and potatoes of it. Yes, it would be nice to go up 3-1 at Oracle.
You know why? You need 4 wins to win the championship.
Just in case you forgot, we got you with those hard-hitting numbers. But everyone, of course, keeping the Kawhi You Should Stay campaign alive. And not only just fans, but athletes that are Canadian as well. James Hinchcliffe, about 24 hours ago, mentioned he would put a picture of Kawhi on his helmet.
And give him tickets to
Any
races.
race.
Any races.
Any race for the rest of his career.
You an indie guy, Kawhi?
Right?
It's fun.
So not the only one.
It's loud.
Mackenzie Hughes,
Ooh.
who's at the RBC Canadian Open.
This is from today.
So after hitting his tee shot at 13, puts on that sweet, sweet number 2 jersey.
Look at that, eh?
I just love it. What a great moment. And he admitted, putting it on because any way that I can try to rile Kawhi up to stay, I'm in.
Giving away What is that, booster
Some
juice?
T-shirts?
That's so
I don't
casual.
know.
Just tossing booster juices to people like it's nothing, eh?
Is it? There's got to be a T-shirt in that. It just doesn't
There's a
matter.
straw
Oh, that'd be
in
so
it.
great if it was a drink, though.
Anyways, the jersey looks wicked.
Yeah, looks
Love
awesome.
the jersey. We got a similar one there. I think it says Michaud on the back,
It
though.
does. It's even more valuable than that
Danielle,
one.
you should stay. It doesn't have the same ring to
Not
it, right?
so much. I will mention, too, Mackenzie Hughes is 6 under through 17 in the first round.
Shout out all these other things going on in the sporting world as
He's
well.
one shot off the lead, so
Let's not
too bad
undermine
for
them. There's
Canadians.
a lot going on. Stanley Cup playoffs continues tonight as well.
Correct.
The big story, of course, the Toronto Raptors and their pursuit of an NBA championship, their first ever. There will be lots from today's media session on Sportsnet Central tonight. We have an army of people there dissecting and going through the content, putting together the best for you. Tune into Sportsnet Central. Of course, if you haven't yet and you're doing it wrong, then follow Sportsnet on Twitter.
Yes.
Follow Sportsnet on Facebook.
Correct.
Subscribe to Sportsnet's YouTube page.
No brainer.
If you haven't subscribed, followed their Instagram page, again, you are behind. There's a lot of great content from Danielle, Donovan Bennett, and myself available to you on those platforms that will continue to come out as well. Instagram Live with Danielle and Donovan pregame tomorrow as well. Halftime, postgame, it is everywhere. Raptors fever has, again, taken over the nation. We are providing you with as much content as we can, including this media day availability as well. You will see a wrap of it again tonight on Sportsnet Central ahead of Game 4. Anything else?
No, over 8.8 million of you across Canada tuned in to watch Game 3. I can imagine it will only grow, and what an amazing feeling to have the Raptors up 2-1 in the series.
All right, that is that for now. Raptors Media Day, practice day for the Warriors and Raptors, I should say, has wrapped. From our side, we thank you very much for watching. See you soon.